Welcome to the Ambitious Introvert Podcast, created especially for introverts, empaths, and highly sensitive entrepreneurs to help you build, grow, and scale a successful, sustainable business. I'm your host, Emma-Louise Parks, business and mindset coach for ambitious introverts. After 17 years working as an air traffic controller, the ultimate fast-paced, high-stimulus, extrovert-friendly role, my mission now is to show introverts that they too can create big results and success because of who they are, not in spite of it. I focus on introvert-friendly business and marketing strategy to help you switch overwhelm for clarity, confidence, and clients. Hello. Welcome to this solo episode of The Ambitious Introvert. I'm Emma-Louise, and today I'm going to be sharing some thoughts around some of the spiritual messages that we see in the online space, particularly when it comes to manifestation, because there is some really oversimplified things kind of flying around that can add more stress and, be a little bit damaging when it comes to talk about mindset and manifestation and, creating our dreams and achieving our goals. So I'm going to start this off by saying that I have been practicing manifestation and learning about it for almost 13 years. I would say I've been practicing it forever because when I read The Secret all those years ago, I went, oh, this is why I always get the things that I set out to get. Because a lot of the ways and the methods within that, I was just automatically doing. So I was really a believer from, the second I read the book. And since then, I've, studied many different schools of manifestation. I'm a certified law of attraction practitioner. But what I do see in the online space is a lot of damaging narratives when it comes to mindset, manifestation, negative thoughts, being high vibe, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to share a little bit about that today and also give you a couple of tips to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to cultivate the mindset to get the results that you want, but without setting these unrealistic, super high expectations for, how the brain works. So mainly the message that is sometimes bandied around is if you think negative thoughts, then those things will happen. But if you only think positive thoughts, then you'll get that instead because like attracts like. And that absolutely is one of the universal laws. But it's way more complex and nuanced than that. And, I'm not going to go into all of that in this episode. But your thoughts are very powerful, but not that if you just have one fleeting thought about something, it's going to happen instantly. And that's it. You've made that happen. You've created it. But sadly, people are really being shamed into believing that if they're not successful or, they haven't got what they want or they haven't hit their business goals, that it's their own fault for having a quote unquote bad mindset. But the truth is that we are human. We are here as human beings having a human experience, which includes feelings and it includes emotions and it includes ups and downs. And especially if we are sensitive to energy, we feel all the feels, right? We get affected by others. We get affected by the moon. We get affected by other cosmic events. If we're female, we get affected by our hormones, and the food we eat, how much sleep we get. Like all of these things can have an effect on our energy. They can have an effect on our emotions and therefore have an effect on our thoughts, okay? Because it's all connected. So the important thing that I would really, really want to get across is that no one, and I mean the most successful person that you might follow on Instagram, no one has a 100% positive mindset all of the time. It's just not possible. And beating ourselves up for having the odd bad thought is really not helpful. It's really, really damaging. So this is what I would recommend. This is what I do. This is what I recommend to my clients to cultivate an empowered mindset. And what I mean by that is a mindset that's optimized for creating the results that you desire. Not a perfect mindset, not a mindset that's high vibe all the time and only thinking great things and ignoring all of the bad. Like, we don't mean that because we are still having a human experience. And There will be times, as I'm going to discuss, that there are things to feel sad about and you do feel low. But ultimately, if the underlying state of your mindset is strong and optimized, then you'll have the resilience to bounce back from those things really, really quickly, which is exactly what we want. We don't not want to feel. We don't want to squash the feelings away or pretend they don't exist. We want to be able to feel them and then still be able to move on and, create the results that we desire. So the first thing I would say is when you feel low or negative, acknowledge it. Just notice it and absolutely acknowledge it in a really neutral way, which can be, oh, there are some feelings of sadness today, or there are some feelings of imposter syndrome, or I have some feelings that, I didn't do very well in my business this month, something like that. But don't become it. Don't be, I am sad. I failed at business last month. Like, don't make it an identity. Just acknowledge that those thoughts are there, because that in and of itself is one of the most empowering things to do. In the coaching and psychology world, we call this metacognition, and it's the ability to notice your own thoughts, which is the most aware thing that you can do, literally. All change starts from having this awareness. So having this metacognition to be able to go, oh, I'm thinking some negative thoughts today. What that does instantly is it takes that thought and it takes it away from you. It's not you at your core. That thought is not who you are as a person. It's not your identity. It's simply a thought that you're having. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But don't become it. Don't become that thought. Just acknowledge it as something that is happening inside your head. Number 2, I always recommend to clients to keep a log of these low, I'm going to say, air quote, periods. Because when we keep a log, we can start to see the patterns. And I had to do this myself about 18 months ago. And I saw very, very quickly a pattern where my lowest, I'm going to say, mindset of the month, where I feel least excited about my business, least motivated, always comes 2 days before my cycle is due. Every time. So now it's funny because it's like, oh, it's that day where I just don't want to do my business. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad business owner. It doesn't mean that I need to close my business down and make changes or anything like that. What it means is that my hormones just make me feel a little bit low at that point in my cycle. And I know that the next day or the day after that, I'll be back to normal again. So do you see how I'm really able to separate that and not let it become a thing? But the reason that I can do that is because I was able to track it and see the patterns. So the way I would recommend doing this is when you're experiencing one of those days where your thoughts are maybe not what you would like, you're feeling a little bit low, you're feeling negative, just jot down, where are you in your cycle, if you cycle? What is the moon doing? How did you sleep the night before? What did you eat the day before? Who have you been spending time around or messaging? Have you moved your body? Have you drank enough water? Have you drunk too much alcohol? Have you spent longer than usual on social media? Like, these are just some examples, but you could have your own things as well. Have you got enough alone time? As an introvert, that is a super important one, especially if you share a house with someone. If you've got kids, you may find that actually you haven't taken enough alone time. But after, I'd say, 2 to 3 of these low entries, you will very likely start to see a pattern. So some of the ones that my clients have seen are too much socializing. They noticed that dip in their mindset when they look back. They were like, oh yeah, I've been out for like the last 3 nights. So too much socializing, not enough alone time makes their mindset dip. The day after alcohol, that is a huge one. And people are like, oh yeah, actually I had some wine last night. Like, this isn't to say don't ever drink alcohol, but it's to notice that if it does have that effect, fine, but know that it's that external cause and it's nothing wrong with you. Another great one that I've seen over and over is clients bringing to me like, oh, I feel really bad. I've lost my motivation. I've feel really imposter syndrome or whatever the thing is. And I say, first thing I say is, how's your self-care practice? Or how's your journaling going? How's your mindset practice going? And they're like, oh yeah, I've been too bit. And that is an instant one. 9 times out of 10, the response is, I haven't been doing it, or I've been too busy, or, oh, I haven't done it for a few days or something. That is a really easy really easy fix because you can get back on it. So what this does is it just really helps to neutralize these feelings even more, because it's something that's happening because of a circumstance. The thoughts and feelings aren't happening because you're bad or you're broken or you're low vibe or you're not trying hard enough to think positively. They're happening because of something else. And yes, they're happening to you, but by logging it this way and looking at all the different variables, it's really, really empowering to be able to look and go, oh, okay, so I'm feeling like this, and that always happens when I've had bad sleep. Or, oh, I'm in that funk again, and I need to get outside and get some fresh air because I actually haven't left the house for 3 days. That's a personal one. So that is the second thing I would highly, highly recommend, is just jotting it down so that you can look back and start to see the patterns. And number 3, stay consistent with your mindset practices, your self-care, your energetic hygiene, all of these things. Because what you do every day is far more important than what you do once in a while. And the compound effect of those small actions, even if it's 5 minutes a day, is so powerful. Having one negative thought or having a few, down days per month will not prevent you achieving your dreams. You will not have that one negative thought and it ruins all of your manifestations and everything you want. It does not work like that. But constantly being in a negative or disempowered mindset will have an effect, okay? So we need to think of mindset like a muscle. The more often we work it out, the stronger it gets. And that means that it recovers faster. So that means you can bounce back from those down days and those negative thoughts easier and faster over time. It doesn't mean that they don't happen, but if you put these 3 tips into practice, what you will do is separate it from your identity and just acknowledge it as something separate from you. You'll be able to start seeing the patterns of when it happens so that you can just look at it without judgment. And you'll also have that resilience in the background because you are consistently doing the work day in, day out. So I really hope that really quick episode is helpful to you. I would love to hear if this resonated. You can DM me, as always, on Instagram at Emma-Lou-Parks, or drop me an email, hello@emmalouiseparks.com. And I would, love to hear how you feel about this, how you deal with those days that you feel lower, and, your patterns that really come up for you, and when you notice that you have those days where you don't feel quite as great. But know from all of this, it's the compound effect. It's the things you do every day that's more important, the vision that you hold, and the way you show up for yourself. So no judgment, no making ourselves wrong for actually just being a human and feeling human feelings. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ambitious Introvert Podcast with me, Emma-Louise Parks. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. As a thank you, one lucky reviewer each month will win a 60-minute one-on-one coaching session with me, where you'll get the clarity and confidence to attract your ideal clients. And if you know someone who could benefit from listening to the show, then please do share and help me reach as many fellow ambitious introverts as possible.